Let's get to the good part, shall we? We are an hour and a half into this wrestling program. And here Tony Schiavone is in the ring with Rick Ross. And when I first heard the announcement of this, I was like, who the fuck is that now? But I remember he's been on the program before in a pre-tape with him. He must be friends with Swerve. Apparently he's a rapper. Tony Schiavone just glorified him. 1 million selling recording artist and this guy and that guy.
He's a big star.
Well, I don't give a shit. But the point is, he's there to mediate, quote unquote, that was the quote, mediate the face-off between Keith Lee and Swerve because they've broken up their team. Swerve has switched heel. Keith is apparently just confused. I don't know what the fucking deal with his. But Rick Ross may be a celebrity to some people, but Jesus Christ on a cracker, don't give him a live microphone anymore.
Yes.
For a variety of reasons.
No, give him a live microphone every week. This was the greatest segment. This is up on that list. Jade Cargill's debut, Maki Ito singing while Shida gets beat up by Vicky Guerrero. This is up on that list of greatest moments in AEW history. This whole segment.
And everybody had a hand in this. I mean, production, talent, matchmaking, the bookers, the writers, the producers.
You see, the genius of the Jade debut was Cody's doing a promo. This woman you've never seen before shows up, seems to be doing a promo in her own world. You're trying to figure out what's going on. Then the Brandy thing happened, so that's the second thing. And then after all that, if you remember, I think it was Cage and Starks attacked Cody, and Darby had to come through the crowd to save him. Just like with this one. There's all this stuff happening with Rick Ross and Keith Lee, and then even more bad shit happens that makes it even greater.
Well, and that's... I got to be honest with you. Obviously, I've seen and been around and been a part of segments that had different moving parts and something would go off kilter or you'd have to cover for something. But I've never seen anything like this where it was like everybody involved in this segment, they just sent them out there and said, make some shit up on the fly. And they all had different ideas and did them at the same time. Tony was in the ring with Rick Ross, introduces Rick Ross, and then Tony didn't know who was coming out first. And he actually said, I think we're bringing out Keith with a question mark. And there was an awkward pause. And then the music plays, and here comes Keith Lee. And I'm thinking, well, now Tony will probably be able to get the next one right. You know, we've narrowed it down. But Rick Ross grabs a microphone from Tony. And this guy is supposed to be the mediator. But we've already established, I think, in the interview a few weeks ago, he was friends with Swerve, but now he makes the big introduction for Swerve. He introduced, let's bring out the young legend, Swerve.
Hey, if you're Keith Lee in kayfabe, at that point, don't you think something's up?
One would think, hey, isn't he being a little more friendly to this guy than he is to me, our mediator, right? You would have to, but nevertheless, Swerve, like Merv. He sounded like Arthur Treacher. No music plays. There's a pause. Rick Ross says, hey, he asked for the music. He said, play the music. Do this thing upright. And then nothing's happening. And here, the Swerve ain't coming out. And that's when Ross turns around and looks at Keith Lee and just says right into the microphone on TBS, you know, you're a big motherfucker. And what the... And
it went out live. So if you're watching live like I was, you're like, did he just say that?
And it was done before they could even hit, because I'm assuming they're still on a 7-second delay or some kind of situation, because they've been bleeping in the past but they don't always catch it. But there was no effort to catch it because it came out of nowhere. Because, you know, there's something going on in the production truck. They can't get the music to work. Something's happening. Everybody's standing around. And I bet the guy with his finger on the button was like, well, nothing's happening. Suddenly here's motherfucker. Oh, shit. Too late. So, And even Keith Lee goes over to the ropes and makes a cut his mic signal at his throat and makes a funny face to one of the floor producers off camera. And then Rick Ross is still talking. We coming to make history. He keeps saying, we're coming to make history. And then he just starts ad-libbing, just saying shit. And at that point, there's never any music plays. Swerve just comes out talking on a microphone. And he's in a long black coat, and he's dragging something that you couldn't see. It was like a bag or a sack or a box or something. You couldn't really see it on the camera shot. But he's talking. And he's saying that it sounds like a Bray Wyatt interview where he's saying shit, but he ain't getting to a point. But he said, I can't be putting up with all these accusations. And then Rick Ross starts doing Swerve's promo in the ring to Keith Lee's face over the top of Swerve. They're both talking at the same time. That's right. He can't be putting up with those accusations. And now Keith Lee is still standing there like, well, are you for me or against me? And he don't know what the fuck's going on. So then Swerve tells Keith Lee, you need to keep an eye out. You need to keep track of what's going on. As a matter of fact, you need to keep eyes in the back of your head. And then nothing happens. And then Rick Ross says, it's the young legend. We're going to make history. And nothing's happening. And then suddenly, Parker Boudreaux, who must have got stuck in that left turn at Albuquerque, was Solo.
Let's stop. You know who he is. No one out there knows who he is. The people who watch the show every week have no idea who he is.
Okay, well, listen to me for a second. He hits the ring, but he doesn't hit the ring and attack Keith Lee. He hits the ring and stands behind Keith Lee. And Parker Boudreaux, I now was going to explain, is the guy that they had signed in a WWE developmental, and he was there for a while, and they had big plans that originally, and then suddenly he was released, and he signed here, and we saw him once, and we haven't seen him again. It's been months. So yes, you're right. Almost nobody in the building knew who the fuck it was. The announcer said Parker Boudreaux. So Parker comes from behind Keith Lee and spins him around and starts attacking him with some of the most awkward-looking shit that I have ever seen. It's like he was a bucket of disconnected arms and legs, just wailing away. And maybe this is why he got dropped at the Performance Center. Keith Lee never went down. He just went to the corner and kind of cut. This is becoming a running theme. Keith Lee doesn't really go down or sell. He just kind of leans over in the corner or on the floor and bundles up, and they just kick him. So Parker, boom, 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 hits him with all this shit. Keith Lee just bends over and sells in the corner, then goes to shoot him off, and Keith Lee reverses it and shoots Boudreaux off and clotheslines him over the top. And Parker got that bump, so he did that one. So then Keith Lee turns back to Swerve, who's still in the aisle, and Rick Ross has still got the microphone, and he's over in the corner going, whoa, whoa. Every time somebody takes a bump now, he's going to go, whoa. And Lee goes to start to go after Swerve, and some big tattooed fucker with a mohawk and a tattooed face jumps Keith Lee in the aisle, and Keith Lee sits down on the floor while the guy kicks him 10 times, and they look like shit because you can tell as green as Parker Boudreaux is, this guy is greener than chlorophyll. I mean, awkward broad arms. He didn't really know what to do with Keith Lee once he got him down there. And Lee's getting back up and fighting him back. And then Boudreaux comes from behind with a chair to Keith Lee's back. Wham! And Keith Lee, he sold it like a reverse junkyard dog stiffen up and fall bump, where he stiffened up and went to his knees and just rolled over on the floor. There must be a health issue going on where he can't take bumps, or he can't, I don't know what the fuck. Anyway, they both got on him and didn't really know what to do because he's so big and he's so immobile and they're so green. So it looked more or less like they started humping him. Did you see that when they had their bodies and they were kind of pelvis thrusting him into the goddamn back of the apron of the ring or whatever. I'm like, they're humping him. And while they're doing this, Rick Ross is screaming, it's time to make history. And they pull out the ring steps. And by the way, nobody is trying to break any of this up. Nobody's trying to stop it. There ain't no bell ringing. There's no referees. There's a goddamn multi-platinum Grammy award-winning artist screaming, it's time to make history, while two jolly green giants are beating the shit out of a giant black hole of charisma. So then they put Keith Lee on top of the ring steps. And now they pull whatever he'd had in the bag or the sack or whatever. It's a fake cinder block. And it looked pretty good as they pulled it out, but you'll find out it's fake in a second. Because they pull out the cinder block and they set it on Keith Lee's chest as Keith Lee is laying back first on the steel ring steps. And then, while Swerve is climbing to the top rope, Rick Ross, and I listened to this 5 times, and this is as close as I can come to the transcription. Rick Ross is screaming, I need you to know it is official. Mogul Affiliates has fartened it up. I don't know what he said. The name of their group is Mogul Affiliates, and it's official. Apparently, they fartened it up. I don't know what. Did you hear could you tell what he was saying?
I don't know what he was saying.
Yeah.
Mogul Affiliates, though. I don't know about that name.
Mogul Affiliates. And so then Swerve comes off the top rope with a double foot stomp onto the fake cinder block, sitting on Keith Lee while he's laying on the ring steps, and the cinder block broke in 1,000 pieces. Brian, I don't care if you weigh 500 pounds. If you set a cinder block on a human body and jump with both feet on that, is the cinder block going to bust in 1,000,000 pieces, or is the human body going to burst like a sack of fucking buzzard innards from a butcher shop? Which is going to happen?
I've never seen a cinder block, Blake. I've never seen a cinder block. I've never seen a cinder block break like that.
And Rick Ross said, it is official. This was the biggest fiasco that I've ever seen in my life. Rick Ross doesn't know what he's doing in there. I guess probably they gave him the gist of what he was supposed to say, but he don't remember it. He doesn't do wrestling promos. The two guys that they had attack Keith Lee don't do wrestling angles. Never have before, most probably. You couldn't double foot stomp a guy off the top rope while he's laying on a fucking set of ring steps 10 feet below. You've got to add a cinder block. Whose music are we playing? The music don't work. Who's coming out? It was just incredible. And the motherfucker, you a big motherfucker. The Plan 9 of outer space of wrestling angles. They just, production, layout, talent delivery, work, bad props, complete confusion. This is up there in the pantheon of the immortals.
When Boudreaux got in there and started hitting Keith Lee, it was almost like when you're a kid and you play wrestler and you do a move and then you do like some, I don't know what you call it, you put your arms out like, ah!
Yeah.
He did that after every single time he hit him. It looks so fake. And then the other thing is, and we don't know who the tattooed man will end up being. Apparently he's a former minor league baseball player that is now part of AEW. But they've done this a few times. I don't think it ever works, the idea of debuting people you've never seen before in this fashion. Where all of a sudden they're just beating someone up, or all of a sudden they're just there and you have no idea who the hell they are.
The only way that you can make a debut of an unknown is when they are they have some combination of two things. Number one, they're incredibly visually impressive. And number two, they can do enough in the ring that you can give them 3 or 4 things big moves to do and make an impact. And I know somebody's going to say, well, what, this big 6 foot something tattooed, face painted, mohawked fucking guy isn't visually impressive? Not these days, no. Because everybody looks like that. I'm talking about Jonah. What's his old name? Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed.
Okay. He could be an unknown that can make an impression because you can bring that big fucking guy out and let him do that splash off the top rope. And everybody go, holy fuck. It's like when you used to bring out the Giant or Abdullah the Butcher or the goddamn Freak or the Behemoth or whatever. Somebody that's either tall enough or heavy enough or jacked enough or whatever that they stand out from whatever the current standards are, and they can do even one or two things incredibly impressively, and you build the segment around that. That's a surprise debut. The first time people in the 70s saw Crusher Blackwell, he comes out looking like a fat fucking bearded country fuck. What is, and then at the bell, he hits a guy on the chin with a drop kick at 450 pounds. People, oh shit. That's the kind of impression you need to make. And even if they look visually impressive, if they can't work, then that's, half or more of the fucking thing, to where they've got to be able to do a couple of things to get over. Bam Bam Bigelow. He could get over cold because as soon as he came out and did that cartwheel at that size and then did a drop kick or whatever the fuck he did, then you're like, holy shit. It's Jacob Fatu. He could get over cold because all he'd have to do is come out and have that animosity and fucking hit that big power slam or one of those big power moves and then the springboard moonsault. You go, oh shit. There was no oh shit here. There was just plenty of shit, but no oh. So anyway, and then we were ready for the, go ahead.
One last thing, because we've seen a lot of various, mostly hip-hop people, but even Shaq, we've seen different celebrities show up and disappear quickly. Snoop Dogg, Trina, Mike Tyson.
I forgot about Trina.
Various people. Based on the way this angle happened and the way Rick Ross was on the mic the entire time, is he coming back? Is he going to be a part of this every week? Because they kind of set it up so he has to be, didn't they?
Well, if it made any sense, he would. The way this came off, he is the manager or the manipulator of the group putting these people together, Mogul affiliates. But I would imagine if he's as big a star as everybody claims he is, since I couldn't pick him out of a police lineup, I'm sure he's probably been in a few, and I've never heard any of his music. But I would have to think he's busy. So, were they going to have him pre-tape instructions and send them in to the TVs he came? I don't know. And then, goddamn, if he does come back, I mean, is he going to get him kicked off television, or is he going to forget what he's supposed to say, or it could be wonderful. It could be just wonderful. But one would think he would be involved with this group, but then one would think a number of things logically from things they do on this TV, and it doesn't work out that way. I don't know.